Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just saying what's up. I want to give you guys a heads up with some things that just happened about 2 weeks ago now, Friday. Yeah, let's just say I now have a super pubic because of some crazy stuff that just happened, which I'll explain shortly. For you that don't know, give you a little background on what the suprapubic is and what I had before, which was catheter Foley. So since my injury, I haven't been able to use the bathroom or anything. So what they were doing before was actually inserting a catheter in my penis, and it's a tube that then taps into my bladder, and then they would drain it every 4 hours. So they would do the ultrasound, see how much approximate how much pee I have in my bladder. Say it's around 400 cc's, and then they will go ahead and just tap in, drain it, and they would do that every 4 hours. So if it's around 200 or less, then they wouldn't, but normally I was 300 or more, and then they would go ahead and tap in. So that's your catheter. From there, later on in the months, they decided to do a catheter Foley. So the catheter Foley uses the same catheter system, but now the catheter stays in me through the penis for a month at a time before they change it and just put in a new one. And in this way, it just goes into a bag that has to be emptied every 4 to 8 hours approximately. So same concept as far as before, but now instead of them having to insert something inside my penis every 4 hours, which can start affecting the penis itself, you just go ahead and just keep it in there. Now that does have its long-term effects as far as when you have an erection, your erection goes up and the bag is down. So that tends to hurt in a way, kind of like that old punishment where you get an erection and it's like spikes around you. It was kind of like that for me because I just couldn't have an erection because it will hurt. It would actually pull the catheter and pull my penis downward, and it would be very uncomfortable. So I had that, and then the next step from there is the suprapubic. So what the suprapubic does, it bypasses your urethra altogether. It taps into your abdomen and then goes right to the bladder and then drains from your bladder. So it pulls all your pee that way. Now your penis is free, it can be itself. No pee comes out of it, but it does, I can have an erection, I can use it and so forth in that fashion. But yeah, it's that next step forward as I'm healing that if I wanted to, then later on I can use the bathroom myself, take out the suprapubic, and go from there. So that's what I was planning on doing, is getting a suprapubic, and that was going to be like a November thing, and then going into December as far as getting the procedure. Well, let's rewind a little bit to the other week, and I have to say it's going to be a little bit graphic as far as what I'm going to tell you guys. So, but it's part of what's going on in my life, unfortunately. So, the other week on a Friday, I was getting a routine catheter Foley change, and I had a nurse come over to go ahead and do that catheter change. You know, same old. And so we had 2 catheter Foleys. We had one that kind of has a little bend to it on the tip and one that is straight. So the one that we had handy right here, we just grabbed, and it was the one that was kind of curved. So when she saw it, she was like, well, this is normally used for when somebody's having difficulty trying to get the catheter in, but we can use it. So we go ahead and try and use it, and then it just won't tap for some reason. And she's getting a little bit of pressure from my bladder as far as being able to tap. So she has some difficulties with it. We're like, okay, well, hey, do you have the straight one? Let's use that one. All right, no problem. We swap out, go with the straight tip. So she goes in, she taps the bladder, but she's still having some kind of pressure issues with it. So we're like, okay, let's go ahead and just, Carrie had to help for a second so she could just hold it. Boom, tapped it, blew it up, and there's a balloon that holds it in place once it's tapped. And then, okay, it looks tapped. We're going to wait a few minutes and let's see what happens. All right, so a few minutes goes by. I'm like, there's no pee coming into the tube like normal. It was like, what's going on? This is weird. So then we go ahead and just kind of tilt me just a little bit. And then we see blood coming into the tube. So I'm like, ooh, that's more red than it's been in the past. So it is not uncommon for the catheter Foley to have a slight roughness on the urethral wall or the bladder and have a little bit of blood, which it'll normally look pretty watery, kind of like Kool-Aid. So this time it looked like a dark Kool-Aid. I was like, whoa, that's closer to blood color. So we're like, all right. Before that, what led me to believe something was wrong is that I was getting what we call ADs. So that's auto dysreflexia. And so it happens a lot to folks in my condition when your bladder is needs to be expelled. So when you have to pee it out, right? But you don't have control to kind of squeeze everything out. So now it's just gonna fight or flight in your body where I start sweating, my blood pressure starts getting really high, and sometimes I also get headaches because of the high blood pressure. So I was getting that before we actually saw the blood. And that's where I was telling, I was like, oh, I think something's wrong because I'm getting ADs, and that I only get ADs typically when there's a blockage. And so lo and behold, that's what happened. Tilted me, freed up a little bit of the blockage, but there was some blood coming through. And then next thing you know, we're like, okay, well, let's go ahead and with the catheter Foley that you put in on the second tube of the catheter is a filler for a balloon. So filling up that balloon keeps it in place like in your bladder, so that way it can work and run for the whole month. Well, that may have been blown up in an incorrect position, which again, unfortunately does happen. So we take out the fluid, the saline, out of the balloon, and then blood just comes gushing. A combination of blood and pee comes gushing out of my penis. All right, told you this is going to be a little graphic here, and it's not going to stop. So that comes gushing out. It's like, oh, what the heck is going on? All right, but the only way to fix this stuff, folks, is to go back in with the catheter Foley and try to tap it, and then hopefully everything's secure. So unfortunately, she tried going back in, but there was a lot of pressure happening, could not tap it again successfully. So it was like, all right, well, we tried, let's go ahead and call 911, get to the ER. So nothing's really going on at the time. I get to the ER, doctor comes in, he's like, hey, the only other way for us to go and fix this is to go back into your urethra with another catheter Foley, but this time it's going to be what they call a three-way. So the three-way is similar to the two-way catheter Foley, where there's one for drainage, there's another tubing in there for the balloon, and then in the three-way there's a third path to add saline to rinse out anything that's in your urethra and bladder. So, all right, doc, go ahead and do what you got to do. So he goes in, tries to go with the three-way, and he's having some pressure issues trying to get it down there and get this all to work. So he's having some issues. He then gets into a spot where he thinks that it's trying to tap, but it isn't. So then he blows up the balloon, And then next thing you know, the balloon now, we can't quite get it tapped. And now the balloon is stuck. Great. So he's trying to to suck out the saline out of the catheter, and it won't happen. For some freakish reason, it won't happen. Now, when you put the catheter down the urethra for a male, you kind of do a lot of bends and so forth. So we think that just because of some of the bends, I may have had some added pressure. Who knows? It's had to be that, right? So then he's like, okay, let me call for reinforcements. So he gets the urologist technician or assistant, I'm sorry, to come in and help out, work her magic. So they go ahead and come in, and she's like, okay. So she goes in, tries to help it out. It's not working. Nothing's working that she's doing. I made a suggestion as far as, hey, what if you just cut it? It should, in theory, relieve the pressure of the saline, and it should just squirt out. She was like, yeah, we actually just did that. And this pressure of the balloon won't release. So now I've got this balloon inside my urethra between essentially my scrotum and my bladder. And so she's trying to get it out. So then she starts tugging on it. And I'm like, that's a mean tug. I'm numb down there because of the injury. And I'm like, yo, she's moving my body. Like, what is going on here? I'm like, I don't think if you pull this, that my urethra is built to pull a small little bubble out. You know, I don't think that's going to be the healthiest way. So they brainstorm for a second. Hey, we have the ultrasound. We're going to get the ultrasound and then try to see where the bubble is in your body. So it's just below my, like right around my scrotum. So they're like, all right, we're going to have to pop it. I'm like, what, you going to do a little pimple pop? Like put pressure on it? Because nothing's been happening before. Nope, we're going to hit it with a pin. So they hit that thing with the pin. It just goes pop, and then you see saline flying everywhere. I'm like, oh my goodness. All of us start laughing and like in relief that, yay, she pulls out the 3-way and she's like, it's finally out. I'm like, thank goodness. All right, so let's not do that again. All right, what are our options? So now the urologist, the doctor, comes in and he's like, okay, you got 3 options. The third one is a supra pubic. I was like, cool. I already was going through the procedures to get that one anyway. The next one was another procedure that's similar to the supra pubic, but they just go in and tap the bladder and just to release it, because my bladder is full right now, folks. I've been drinking water since the morning and I have no way to release it. So it's going to potentially rupture. And so the other option that he gave me was to essentially tap it and drain it through the urethra and go from there. So he tries the first one, going through the urethra. He can't even get to it. There's so much pressure, blockage, whatever the heck is going on, that they just can't get down there. So from there, he's like, okay, you have 2 procedures. Both of them are going to go through your abdomen and tap your bladder. I'm like, well, just do the super pubic, please, because that's what I'm going to go do. There's no point in just tapping me, relieving it for now. Can we do that? So they go ahead and do that there. The kit that they had is a 14 millimeter pipe versus the outpatient version is an 18 millimeter. So it works, right? That's all that really matters. Can this work, and can it not mess up my penis anymore, right? I would like to still have that guy around, you know what I'm saying? So, and it still works, folks. It still works. So anywho, they go ahead and do the supra pubic. Everything's good. Everything works out great. I'm in good condition. I'm just dehydrated. So they ended up going ahead and getting everything done. I'm now hydrated. I just had to stay for the weekend through Monday, be on antibiotics, and basically go from there. So yeah, I'm all good. I'm all home right now with the family, and I'm feeling good. Everything's working well. Penis is working. It's just doing some blood drainage. Just have to clean all that up. And aside from that, I'm doing good. So yeah, it's a lot of healing that has to happen down there, and then I'll get scoped in the next month and then see if everything's good, and that's it. So yeah, pretty long story there, but yeah, I had to go through it, unfortunately, and it is what it is. So, but it all worked out. So I'm happy that I got the super pubic now, and just moving on to the next step. So on a good take, I'm in that Kennedy Krieger, and we're starting in December, and it's going to be 2 times a week and 2 to 3 hour sessions for PT, OT combination. So thank you guys. The last thing is going to be the wound. The wound grew a little bit, but I'm very close for it to heal. So hopefully around that December time, it should all be healed up and should be all good to go. All right. So thanks, folks. I'll catch y'all on the next one. 3,